There's something I've noticed over time, and once you see it, you can't really unsee it. Ideas don't show up all at once, they move through people. At first, something feels complicated or uncertain. You hear bits and pieces, but it's not totally clear what it means or what to do with it. Then gradually, it starts to come together. The explanation gets better. More people start talking about it. It becomes easier to understand. And eventually, it reaches a point where it just makes sense. That's usually the moment people feel like they're getting ahead of something. But that moment is actually telling you something else. There's always a gap between when something becomes meaningful and when it becomes widely understood. If you're paying attention consistently, you can feel it. You'll see something start to take shape, and then later you'll hear it being talked about in a completely different way. Cleaner, more confident, almost like it was obvious the whole time. That shift matters. Not because the idea is wrong, but because of where it is in its life. By the time something is easy to explain and widely agreed upon, it's already been worked through by people who were closer to it earlier. The positioning has happened. The decisions have been made. What you're seeing is the version that's been packaged for understanding. The tricky part is, it doesn't feel like you're late. It feels like you finally understand what's going on. It feels like clarity. And that's usually when people act. There's that old story about the elevator operator giving stock tips. Whether it's perfectly true or not doesn't really matter. The idea behind it does. When something reaches the point where it's simple, repeatable, and widely accepted, it's no longer something that only a few people see. It's something everyone sees. And markets don't really reward that version of an idea. This isn't just about other people, either. It happens at every level. There are always people ahead of you on something, just like there are people behind you. What feels early in one circle is already late in another. And even the people who are early relative to you are probably late to someone else. That doesn't stop. So at some point, trying to win by being early all the time starts to feel like the wrong game. Because being early depends on things that are hard to control: access, timing, interpretation. And there's always going to be someone with more of that than you. What I found works better is just accepting how this actually plays out. Assuming that by the time something feels clear, it has already moved to some degree. Not dramatically, but enough that the easy part is probably behind it. And instead of trying to constantly get ahead of that, just making decisions in a way that doesn't depend on being perfectly early. Having a structure. Knowing why you're doing something before you do it. Being able to adjust without feeling like you're chasing or reacting. Because there's always going to be another idea. Another thing that starts out confusing and eventually becomes obvious. Another moment where it feels like you finally figured something out. That part doesn't change. The only thing that really changes is how you respond to it. Whether you feel the need to act because something finally makes sense, or you recognize what that moment usually represents and move forward with a plan that was already in place.